I'm Brandon Ouellette, and this is my historical thesis. He is single-handedly responsible for bringing about the major change in the 20th century Europe. Even more so, he is responsible for causing much trouble to Europe. Many events occurred during the 20th century in Europe, but his particular actions changed the country even more. Needless to say, his influence and intelligence was astonishing, which is particularly why the whole story of his evil is so sad. The man that I am speaking of who brought about so much change and trouble to this country is none other than Adolf Hitler. Nothing in history impacted 20th century Europe and the whole world for that matter like Hitler. I argue that Hitler coming to power in Germany in the 20th century had a profound negative impact on Europe by seizing many countries, bringing destruction and persecution to many, and by changing the mindsets of countless people. Hitler was conqueror by nature. In his life, he took control of many countries. Hitler did so with the Nazi regime, which he established in 1920. In Earl Rice's book, The Third Reich, Demise of the Nazi Dream, he writes that the Nazis saw themselves as members of a racially pure master race and dreamed of ruling the world. This certainly seemed to have been their goal. The first of Hitler's takeovers was uniting Germany and Austria. According to Myra Immel's book, World War II, Hitler believed that Germany was Austria's mother country. Therefore, it was not surprising as to why he wanted to unite these countries as one. After encountering little trouble, Hitler succeeded in 1938 and accomplished his goal. He then went on to take over Czechoslovakia as part of Poland. Eventually, he seized control of a large portion of Europe. This was not the extent of Hitler. This was not the extent of Hitler's plan, however. He felt that the Jews, Gypsies, and Polish were significantly inferior races. On the other hand, Hitler felt that Aryans, Germans, and other Europeans, such as Great Britain, France, and Scandinavia, were racially superior. Michael Osham, in his book The Holocaust, quotes Hitler stating that Germans are specifically the highest species of humanity on the earth. Even without Hitler's hatred and oppression of the Jewish people, there has always been prejudice against the Jews in Germany and in some other parts of Europe. This was because most of Europe was Christian and people were not familiar with the Jewish religion. Even so, no human was living that wanted to exterminate these people because of their differences. Usham writes that the Holocaust in World War II would never have happened if Adolf Hitler had not risen to power in Germany in the early 20th century. Hitler single-handedly took his prejudice to an entirely different level. Hitler lived in Vienna for some years. This is when he began to hate the Jews. Usham also quotes Hitler speaking about the Jews during the time that he lived in there, saying that the more of them I saw, the more sharply they became distinguished in my eyes from the rest of humanity. Once Hitler obtained his Nazi regime, he went on to kill millions of people in the 1930s and 40s. This was referred to as the Holocaust by most historians. Usham writes about some of the statistics of the Holocaust, stating that the Holocaust took the lives of 11 million men, women, and children in a mere dozen years. More than half these killed, 6 to 6 million, were Jews. 2/3 of Europe's Jewish population prior to the war were killed. The 5 million non-Jewish victims included an estimated 3 million Polish Christians and 1 million captured Russian soldiers. Gypsies and Polish were killed by Hitler and his army as well. I believe that Hitler is directly responsible for all the deaths and the torture of millions of people due to his racial hatred of these groups of people. But even though the mass murder that is because of Hitler and his effects on Europe did not just stop there, Hitler had a profound effect on the mindsets of many people. This began by Hitler embracing fascism. However, fascism is not just a political party alone, it is an ideology and a philosophy as well. Gene Wirth, in his book Modern Fascism, states that fascism and anti-Semitism was not merely a racial, despite the biological race theory that dominated National Socialism. The rationale for anti-Semitism was also the ideas of the Jews. According to fascist theories, the Jewish influence, that is the idea of a transcendent religious and transcendent moral law, was responsible for all the ills of the Western culture. And the target of fascism was not only the Jews, but the Judeo-Christian tradition. Fascism has the philosophy of existentialism attached to it as well. Man relies on himself as opposed to having a higher power like God for a moral code. Fichte confirms this by writing, fascists seeking an organic, neo-mythological unity of nature, the community, and the self. The concept of God, who is above nature and moral law, that is above society, are rejected. The mindsets highly promoted by Hitler still remains today. We can see it in much movements as the New Age and deconstruction, or such as the movements of New Age and deconstruction. Therefore, since Hitler's influence from the 20th century still remains in some minds today, his reign is in a sense still alive. Hitler brought about perhaps more change and trouble than anyone ever has in history in a single country. He is highly intelligent man with an incredible gift of influence. However, he has so unfortunately abused both of these virtues and used them for evil. Had Hitler not been consumed with hatred and self-importance, he could have been greatly beneficial to our world in many ways. Now we will never know. Likewise, if Hitler had not become dictator of Germany, many lives would have been saved and fascism would not have grown. We can, however, take steps to not let this wicked man effect of our ongoing future and stop today's mindsets from being further corrupted by Hitler's and fascist beliefs. We must be on the lookout and not let this fascist philosophy of existentialism invade our society. This way we can forever put Hitler's negative effects on this world to rest. Right. Thank you.